All right, thank you all for coming. I'm sorry I can't be there, but I am presenting in Montreal at 10 o'clock. All right, so my course, A History of Black People as Readers, A Genealogy of Critical Literacy, has its origins in Governor Ron DeSantis's targeting of me and other scholars in this infographic earlier this year. The infographic designates several Black scholars as violating Florida's anti-woke law, or HB 7, violating it because of our work addressing such issues as capitalist and racial inequalities, homophobia, transphobia, the necessity of anti-racist, feminist, and LGBTQ social movements. Many of you will remember this as the controversy around the advanced placement African American Studies course. All right, as obnoxious as this targeting is, I was curious about my own initial reactions to it. I had a very strong fear that at stake was certainly these vital issues and their histories, but I was struck by a general fear that I had about the crisis that literacy in general and critical literacy in particular are undergoing. What would the banning of books mean for the possibilities of engaged reading and critical thinking in this country? How is the struggle over literacy and critical thinking very much a part of this country's development, particularly in the 18th and 19th centuries, and especially where Black people were concerned? So I did what I do in moments of crisis. I read, beginning with this book, Janet Dutzman Cornelius's When I Can Read My Title Clear, Literacy, Slavery, and Religion in the Antebellum South. The book provides a history of the struggles over Black literacy during slavery, but shows how that struggle was partly shaped by a white evangelical movement that promoted literacy, but not necessarily abolition, on the grounds that good Christian proselytizing meant promoting the reading of the Bible. Now, I've known for years that the Bible loomed large for Black people as readers, but Dutzman's book makes clear that so did another book, Noah Webster's The American Spelling Book, containing the rudiments of the English language for the use of schools in the United States, popularly known as the Blue-Black Speller. According to Dutzman, the reverence that 19th century Blacks held for the Blue-Black Speller was second only to the Bible. In that book, enslaved people had either through their master's interest in their literacy or through their own ingenuity learn to read through what we know today as phonics, which is how many of us learn to read, myself included. For our purposes, I am interested in how these two books, the Bible and the Blue-Black Speller, were repurposed for the development of a critical literacy by Black readers who would use the Bible and the Blue-Black Speller to chart a way to freedom. In other words, they would take texts that were only negligibly about Black people and use them to address the circumstances of bondage and the possibilities of freedom. Here we have a profound and little understood history of how a minoritized group read against the grain and how they passed that reading tradition on. Indeed, my hypothesis is that this reading practice created a critical reading tradition that was further developed by Black people in the long post-slavery period. So, this course examines the history of Black people throughout the diaspora as readers. It does so to determine the ways that Black readers have often read canonical texts against the grain. The course follows this line of inquiry to show how a marginalized people devised interpretive strategies that were not beholden to the intentions of dominant texts, and specifically derived understandings of inequality and freedom from texts that appeared to be unyielding around those topics. To this end, the course will study enslaved African Americans' love of Noah Webster's, Blue Black Speller, and the Bible, the Trinidadian intellectual pictured here, C.L.R. James's love of William Makepeace Thackeray's Vanity Fair, Ralph Ellison's admiration for Andre Malraux's novel Man's Fate, Toni Morrison's inspired engagement with Herman Melville's Moby Dick, and so on. In sum, the course tries to attempt something that I have never seen in teaching or in the scholarship, and that is provide a genealogy of the critical reading practices of Black people from the 19th century to the present. In the course, we'll read historical works like Cornelius's study, as well as conduct close readings of the writings of formerly enslaved Blacks and their literary descendants. So, we'll read parts of Morrison's Playing in the Dark, parts of Moby Dick, parts of what C.L.R. James has written about, how he read Vanity Fair as a way to understand elite social formations, as well as parts of Vanity Fair, and also other authors. All right, so the course would be appropriate for those interested in literature, history, and the sociology of knowledge. All right, and that does it for me, and I hope to see you soon.